Tonight on Connecticut's news station, systems across the globe are still getting back up and running after a major outage, but flights are still recovering, leaving passengers frustrated. A report next on how they're managing at Bradley.
A threatening post on social media apparently made by a student, and tonight we're bringing you the latest statement from the superintendent of schools in Glastonbury and what action the district has already taken. And we have a warning to share direct from the CDC. They're tracking a multi-state outbreak of listeria. We'll tell you what they know so far and which state has been hit the worst.
Now at 10, this is Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
Now we begin tonight on the global cyber outage that seemed to put the world on pause today. Just one software error bringing large segments of the world's economy to a screeching halt. Thanks for joining us for the Fox 61 News at 10. I'm Brent Harden.
And I'm Sarah Sanchez. Yeah, that's all it took. Just one error, but it's taken hours. Some America's biggest operations are almost fully back online. But just hours ago, the CEO issued an apology on the company's site. But this all started when you were likely asleep. Systems that operated off Microsoft Windows started glowing blue with error messages. Businesses, big and small, and governments across the globe experienced hours-long disruptions, and many systems required time-consuming manual fixes.
Now here's one example that illustrates the chaos courtesy of FlightAware. This is a map of active commercial air traffic across the U.S. and yeah, when that outage began, you can see a major drop-off in air traffic. Thousands of flights canceled, tens of thousands were delayed. We'll talk about how people in Connecticut airports were impacted in just a moment. The entire mess, as we said, can be traced back to a single software update pushed by the cybersecurity firm CrowdStrike on Microsoft Windows platforms. It was not a cyber attack, but now there are calls for a full investigation. Lawmakers saying today's outage shows just how vulnerable our interconnected world really is. A difficult day across the world, but it's fair to say travelers were impacted the most.
Most systems are back online tonight, but airports are still recovering after flight schedules were disrupted all across the globe. Fox 61's Kaylee Collins spent much of the day at Bradley International Airport speaking with frustrated flyers and workers, I'm sure. Kaylee, how are people feeling out there tonight after the chaos?
Well, Sarah and Brent, it definitely was a chaotic scene earlier. Crowds were a bit larger this morning, but there were still plenty of those frustrated travelers whose flights had been delayed earlier in the day, waiting to catch their flights, hoping for no more disruptions.
A crowd of anxious travelers
yeah, it's a little eerie.
Was largely the scene at airports all over the world Friday morning, including Bradley International Airport. Travelers expecting to catch a flight on Friday, surprised to learn a global tech outage would disrupt their plans.
In New York is something I would expect it on a regular, but holidays, but not today.
It was a faulty software update by cybersecurity company CrowdStrike that caused disruptions across multiple industries. For those who already consider themselves nervous flyers, the confusion made matters worse.
We didn't know what was going on.
Mackenzie Mazurowski had plans to fly to South Carolina for a wedding via Breeze Airlines. She tells Fox 61 she and other passengers were not notified of their delay until well past their original boarding time.
And everybody was kind of like jumping into our gate and other people were jumping into other people's gate. And I was just like, all right, something's not right.
Mazurowski's flight eventually started boarding around 9:30 a.m. after confused passengers waited for hours and airline staff were forced to alter the boarding process.
There were so many papers that they had to go and check out. And check people.
Though operations have returned to normal, concerns over global digital reliability are mounting.
Part of the consequence of living in an extremely digitized society is that a software issue can have major implications. These are the kinds of disruptions that nobody wants to experience, and we'll be pressing airlines and the software community on what they're doing to get ahead of this for the next time.
And it is expected to be another busy morning at Bradley tomorrow as those who were dealing with those cancellations hope to head out to their destinations on new flights. In studio tonight, Kaylee Collins, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
All right, Kaylee, thank you. So for many, this morning marked the very first time they'd ever heard of CrowdStrike. So what does the software do, and how was a simple error able to cause such widespread chaos? Well, here's what we know about the company and the outage. CrowdStrike is an American cybersecurity firm based in Austin, Texas. Since being founded in 2011, they've made a name for themselves as one of the top firms providing protection. The company says its customers include 298 Fortune 500 companies, 8 of the top 10 financial services firms, 7 of the top 10 manufacturers, 6 of the top 10 healthcare providers, and 8 of the top 10 food and beverage companies. The company was also involved in investigations into cyber attacks such as the 2014 Sony Pictures hack and the hack of the Democratic National Committee ahead of the 2016 election. Their anti-cyber attack software is integrated directly into the Windows operating system designed by Microsoft, meaning it's in a wide variety of devices across the globe, including the operating systems that run hospitals and banking systems and flight controls for major airlines. Because cybersecurity is a constantly evolving field with new threats regularly appearing, software designed to deal with those threats receives frequent updates. CrowdStrike sent out one of those updates Thursday night, inadvertently including a bug in the code that caused disruptions in Windows-based systems, the chief executive of the company said. Millions of Windows computers began experiencing a boot loop, which is when the computer begins starting up, then is unable to finish and restarts the process without end. For many, it produced the notorious blue screen of death, indicating a critical issue. The bug exclusively broke Windows computers, meaning those using Linux or Mac-based operating systems were unaffected. Our coverage will continue later this hour with more on what impact, if any, the outage had on emergency management systems. Until then, you can head to fox61.com for more in-depth reporting on CrowdStrike. You can also download the free Fox 61 app for local news and weather in your neighborhood. All right, time now for a first check on the weather, and with the weekend upon us, it's mostly good news.
Mostly good news.
Mostly good news.
There you go. Sam Samperi is here with the details. We still like what we're seeing, Sam.
That's right, because you don't see any raindrops during the days on Saturday and Sunday. There might be a shower, a little batch of light rain during the overnight. So don't cancel any outdoor plans this weekend. It's still a warm, nice weekend, although we'll start to turn a bit more humid. You'll notice that as we move along. Right now, temperatures are okay. They're a little bit milder than they were last night at this time, but low 70s in the urban centers to the 60s in the western and eastern hills. Now, dew points are up a bit, so yes, it's not quite as cool and dry. But, you know, what I want to show you here is we have mostly clear skies, and there are some high clouds off to our south and west, and some of those high clouds will start to move in during the day tomorrow. So overnight we're okay, and then again early tomorrow morning we'll see those high clouds. This looks a lot worse, but we will definitely have a mix of sun and clouds for your Saturday. I was going to say overnight, but we'll call it clear to partly cloudy then overnight. In the 80s for tomorrow afternoon, and hour by hour you could see we'll have more clouds through midday in the afternoon, but it will still be dry during the day. Coming up, I will detail and time out any shower activity for your Saturday night. We'll talk about Sunday and how long will the real dry weather last, when our next chance for big thunderstorms will occur in a few minutes. Guys?
Thank you, Sam. Right now, a person's in the hospital with life-threatening injuries. State police say they were involved in a crash on Route 85 in Salem. Half an hour ago, state troopers emailed Fox 61 saying 51-year-old Thomas DeVito was driving when he lost control of his car. He apparently hit a stone wall and then a tree. DeVito was thrown from his car while it was rolling over. We're still waiting on an update on his condition, and we'll share that with you when we learn more.
There's an outbreak tonight to warn you about, linked to meat sliced at grocery store deli counters. The CDC says 28 people across 12 states have reported listeria infections since May. 2 of them have died. It's not clear tonight if any cases were in our state, but neighboring New York has been identified as a hotspot with 7 cases there. Tonight, the CDC says they have not determined which deli meat is contaminated. They are warning people at higher risk of getting sick to avoid eating sliced deli meat for now. They also say there is no data to suggest that people are getting sick from prepackaged deli meats.
And a recall alert to share with you now involving meat from the grocery store. Stop & Shop's recalling its store brand 2-pound breaded chicken cutlets. The recall also includes their 7-ounce Italian breaded chicken cutlets. The products contain undeclared allergens. If you have any of these products, you're asked to return them to a Stop & Shop store for a refund.
Well, the superintendent of schools in Glastonbury is alerting parents about a student post on social media threatening violence that parents tell Fox 61 targeted African-American high school students. Dr. Alan Bookman called it both highly offensive and greatly alarming to the community. His message to families is that the student responsible has been identified, expelled, and banned from campus. He goes on to say there is no place in our school community for hate, racism, or violence. This disturbing incident is a reminder to all of the importance of our work to provide safe, inclusive, and supportive learning environments where all students feel valued and respected.